Starting your episode on a starfield just to make me jealous of places with little to no light pollution. I want to see the universe civilization. It's not progressing already. Show keeps Matthew Modine completely shrouded in darkness for the first 30 seconds, making us wait a full half-minute to sin his hair.
Its behavior is predictable. Like all animals, it eats.
I mean, sure, but not all animals eat children. And even more importantly, not all animals live in a parallel mirror dimension. So your predictions can go suck a slug.
Here's what's gonna happen.
Character in captivity tells their captors exactly what's going to happen before exactly the thing they said would happen happens exactly the way they said it would happen. Cliche.
You're gonna let me and Joyce Byers go. You're gonna give us anything we need, and we're gonna find her son. And then we're gonna forget that any of this ever happened.
This is the dumbest deal in the history of bartering, and there's no way the Modine Mafia would agree to it. How does Hopper expect to convince Joyce to not expose the bastards that faked the death of her son? How does he explain to the people of Discount Haddonfield that Will Byers has returned from the dead? There's bluffing, then there's bluffing when you haven't seen your cards, then there's bluffing when you haven't seen your cards and you've never played poker before, and then there's this. Gun loading, hammering, more gun loading, trap setting, even more gun loading. Home improvement? Also, shooting a close-up of how many bullets your gun holds when you don't intend on counting to 6 later. Also, thinking you can Home Alone a monster from the underworld.
You gotta give me your word. And those other 3 kids, those boys, you're gonna leave them alone. And I'll tell you.
Somehow jaded and pissed at the world, Sheriff Hopper believes that the shady government people conducting experiments on stolen children are also people likely to be worried about keeping promises. Also, if Hopper knows how badly Brenner wants 11 back, why didn't he leverage him for more help than just 2 hazard suits and a "we'll win that away"?
The atmosphere is toxic.
My son's in there.
Joyce would be an 11 out of 10 at TVSins.
It's Troll's favorite food, burritos!
Thinking trolls would choose to hunt in playgrounds for food instead of the YouTube comments section, or whatever the 80s equivalent would have been.
You okay?
I mean, I'm wandering through a gooey hellscape looking for my son, who may or may not be dead from toxic exposure after being kidnapped by the demon offspring of a Venus flytrap and a very angry horse. But other than that, I'm just swell. You? I get that the floating particles add some distinguishing eeriness to the Upside Down, but where's it coming from and why is it constant? Does the sky have dandruff? Do all the creatures just have severe eczema? Is it always winter and never Christmas?
Did you hear that?
It's just the wind.
Just the wind? Tornadoes are just the wind, man. Wind can mess you up. Do you even Wizard of Oz, bro?
Nancy.
Yeah.
Getting knock blocked.
Steve, get out!
She points the loaded gun at him and cocks it? That's dumb. Nancy's dumb. Or the show is dumb. Or the show is dumb for making Nancy so dumb.
What's it doing?
Asking a question to a room full of people who have exactly the same information that you do. Excessive and inexcusable egg examination is execrable, yet exhaustingly expected. Everything in the Upside Down will remind Hopper of his child because somehow it knows this is the season finale and that the writers forgot to finish telling us his backstory.
Well, for pity's sake, not to ask her any more questions. She said I must have asked her 1,000 already. I suppose I had to, but how are you going to find things out if you don't ask questions?
Ignoring punctuation, I mean, if I delivered sins like this, wouldn't it be incredibly distracting and difficult to follow? Because commas, man, how do they work? And actually, we know how they work and allow pauses so we can breathe and or give our brain some time to catch up and process what's being said someday, somehow. We're supposed to believe that Hopper reads entire books to his child this way and survives this? Finally, someone's acting reasonable and getting the ever-loving hell out of Hawkins the second the death creature from another world shows up. Wish more of these in. He's about to go back in, isn't he? The Demogorgon will now play older brother and pin Jonathan to the ground and hang slobber over him for a bit before doing anything because that's just basic predatory instinct. More like the Demogorgon, am I right?
What is the number of the daytime? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The number of the day is 9.
Showing off your bat spinning skills instead of immediately killing the flower-faced goo demon. So the plan here is to set the beast on fire for a few seconds and then immediately put it out? I get that you want to save the house, but shouldn't you toast that sucker for a little longer? I've seen marshmallows survive longer than this.
Where'd it go?
I has to be dead.
Yes, the interdimensional being that can inexplicably travel between your world and its own is definitely dead. Don't you dare let the lack of a body make you think otherwise. And of course, Hopper and Joyce arrive at the exact same hallway where the kids just had the Demogorgon barbecue. Did they bring the graham crackers and the chocolate bars for the s'mores?
Mike! I found a chocolate bunny!
Dustin's just the best.
She can make you whatever you like.
Eggos?
Well, yeah, Eggos, but real food too.
Shut your mouth. Keep that ego shade out of my 80s nostalgia, thank you.
Mike, friends don't lie.
But we do skip. I know that just following orders excuse doesn't mean these are good people, but I'm not convinced they all deserve to have their insides liquefied, and that we should still be expected to root for Discount Dozen. I mean, she's responsible for more recorded deaths than the Demogorgon at this point, right?
11, can you hear me?
Holding a barely conscious child like this so that their neck is supporting their entire body.
What? What? What?
Attempting to clarify your statement by saying the exact same thing. Wait, where the f did Brenner go? He was literally holding his most prized experiment. Did he seriously run for the hills without taking her with him? Wait, he's still f***ing there? So he saw the Demogorgon burst in, dropped his weapon of mass destruction, got up and walked directly towards the damn thing as if he's meeting his date for the snowball? Pulling this thing out seems like a super risky move, right? They know the environment's toxic, so what if this is acting as some sort of disgusting life support system? No one's suggesting you leave him here, but let's take a minute to assess our options before accidentally pulling his insides to the outside.
Is it dead?
Asking a question to a room of people who have exactly the same information that you do. Also, the Demi Lovato Gorgons haven't received nearly enough credit for their impeccable sense of dramatic timing. For a creature that was quickly pouncing all the bad guys earlier, the Demogorgon sure does like to showboat around these kids, huh? Fortunately, I do not suffer from photosensitive epilepsy, but I imagine this is a thoroughly unpleasant experience for anyone that does. If I wanted to be flashed this much, I'd go to Mardi Gras.
No more.
Until the show becomes a surprise hit, then maybe we'll need something for another season or two, but nothing that would age our actors out of their parts for sure. I mean, barring some sort of worldwide pandemic. Pandemic. This periodic table includes a whole host of elements that hadn't even been discovered in the 80s, including Tennessee, which wasn't discovered until 2010. And f*** you and your fan fiction if you're going to come at me saying the Upside Down is actually a time portal to the future, because it f***ing isn't.
29, 30, now, go!
Wait, maybe the Upside Down is a time portal because it clearly teleports Hopper 30 years into the future here, since he's counting out a 30 compression CPR, which wasn't even a thing until like 10 years ago. Before that, it was like 5 compressions or so between breaths. And even in Hopper's flashback, they're screwing up the CPR, because they clearly show the EKG flatline later, meaning she already had a rhythm and CPR would be counterproductive.
I made you a new mixtape.
But didn't put a case on it? Guess we know who the real monster is now. Jonathan.
Fires!
This isn't causing Will to scream in agony after having his rib cage caved in by Hopper.
She squeezed her brains out
and blood was pouring out of her face.
And then these
This is how 12-year-olds talk about a violent movie they saw. It would not be how they talk about real-life trauma they experienced, so maybe back it down a notch with the "how cool was it when all the heads exploded" repartee.
Fireball the son of a bitch.
14!
Even back in the 80s, the fireball spell required the creature being attacked to roll a dice to see if they can dodge it. So Mike should have rolled first instead of letting Will go straight for the damage. Just because he's had a near-death experience doesn't mean you go easy on him, dude.
The campaign was way too short.
Yeah.
It was 10 hours.
But it doesn't make any sense.
It makes sense.
Oh, no.
Ah, yes. The meaning of true fandom, to criticize the thing you love for being too short, too long, over-explaining, under-explaining, or just not exactly how you would have written it. But clearly this is anachronistic, considering TVSins didn't invent nitpicking until 2012.
Can I open it?
Yeah, sure.
No older brother has ever been okay with their younger sibling opening a Christmas present from the girl they have a crush on. This is quite likely the single most unbelievable thing in the entire show. You just had to put up some news articles, didn't you? Now I have to read them. So explain to me exactly what you mean by experimentations in perusal of mind control. Perusal? Did you mean pursuit? And sure, this could have been a typo, but over here you've clearly got the same paragraph twice. These small-town newspaper editors are lazier than the props department of a Netflix show.
Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay.
I could only assume that Will doesn't immediately tell his family about his visions or the upslug down he just coughed up for fear of being sidelined for all of season 2 as well.
We'll tell you about the game.
Oh yeah. I threw a fireball at him and dead.
Wait.
That's how you start that story? Not only is that the big finish, but your mom has no context for who him even is or why a fireball was needed. That's terrible storytelling, Will. You should get some tips from Matt and Ross Duffer. Matt and Ross. Those may be the dumbest names we've come up with so far.
I'm broke as a joke.
You took my boy away from me.
Give me back my son!
Sweetie Pie Hole! Como se llama? Kelly Clarkson!
You're just a junkie. Small town cop who had a really bad week. Took one too many pills this time.
But once you get locked into a serious drug collection, the tendency is to push it as far as you can.
Look, everything that's happened here and everything that's gonna happen, we don't talk about. You want Will back?
You didn't see anything.
I still think we should stick to the Chief's plan.
Oh, hell, let's just do what we always do. Hijack some nuclear weapons and hold the world hostage.
I don't feel so good.